Have you ever been reading a celebrity pastor's blog posts or listening to a famous Bible teacher and something jumps out to you and you're just like, how am I the only person seeing this thing? Why isn't anyone talking about it? Well, you're not alone. Welcome to Underdog Theology. This podcast is about looking at what's happening in evangelicalism. I'm talking tweets, I'm talking books, blogs, videos, all of it, and judging it according to Scripture. Whether that's reacting to celebrity pastors, teasing about the latest ridiculous battle in the culture war, or just having a little bit of fun together, this show is for all the folks who feel like they're on the outside looking in, who feel like they don't have a voice, who feel like they're an underdog. Welcome to Underdog Theology. Every week I get so excited when that music goes on. I'm realizing I have my glasses still on. Don't want to be called a hipster again. All right. How's it going, everybody? I hope your Monday is going super great. Mine is usually great. Today is also kind of great. It's just we got a school strike going on, so I got all the kids playing Legos and watching Despicable Me 2 upstairs. Don't you judge me. Don't you judge me. It's Despicable Me. It's like a cartoon, all right? It's like, whatever. They're stealing the moon and stuff. I don't know. But we'll probably have some interruptions today. It's going to be a little bit of a truncated show. I know words. Truncated. That means short, I think. So we're going to be talking about the SBC today. I want to kind of follow up because I've had a few messages, people asking me, what do you think is going on? Because there was some stuff that happened a couple weeks ago now that I feel like we should talk about. So we're going to be getting to that. But first, like I do every week, I derail my show. It's kind of debatable whether it was ever on the rails, but I like to do the thing that YouTube says not to do. YouTube says, get to the point. Start talking about your topic right off the bat. I don't like doing that. I'd rather just hang out with people. So let me get the chat up on the screen. Let's say hi to some people. Let's say hi to everybody who's hopping into the chat. We've got Johnny Appleseed is here. We've got Kip Lupton, who's a woke Christian, and woke Christians are welcome on this channel, unlike some other places. Then there were some bets about how late I was going to be between Wendy and Heidi. I feel like you just got to kick me when I'm down, huh? Well, I got kids, and I had to give an insulin shot right before, huh? Do you feel guilty now? Guys? I had to give an insulin shot right before I got on this show, and I have the numbers right here, right in front of me. Like we're multitasking, which is very difficult for me. All right. Enough guilt tripping. I'm just kidding, by the way. It's it wouldn't even matter. I would have nothing going on and I'd still be late. So just the way it is. Caleb was coming in. He says, curious as to your thoughts, bro. I'm part of the SBC, so I like hearing an outsider. That's what I am. An outsider perspective who isn't swimming in the waters. Nope, not anymore. I was never in those waters. I was kind of like putting my toes in and being like, hey, is it cool if I swim here? And then like everyone was like, heck no, get out of here. I've shared the story before. There was a church split that happened at a church I was looking at pastoring, like we were going to go preach in view of a call in the SBC. And that kind of like made me go, wait, all right, we're moving on. Ty says, is it too early to click the like button? No, it is not. It is never too early to click the like button. You can do it whenever you want. Also, I'm not your boss. So if you want to hit whatever button you want, go for it. I hope it's the like button, but you never know. We've got 43 people watching me ramble, 46 people watching me ramble. And we've got 15 likes. So, if I have any moderators, now would be a good time to just be on the lookout. While I'm just thinking of it, if you want to be a moderator, let me know in the chat. If you're one of the people that hang out every once in a while, I need some more moderators. because I keep on being loud on Twitter. And I have a feeling that's going to come back to bite me in the butt here on a live stream one day. So we're on the lookout for, some stuff. But if you're one of those hate watchers who were mad at me because I thought it was a weird thing for Christians to be gathering at night in front of town hall and singing a song about sharpening their axe in front of non-believers, like, hi, welcome to the stream. They're usually like this, but I just have a feeling. Woo-hoo. All right, song number 1. Are we go for launch? We did. Maybe that's too late now. I don't know about your SBC, but our SBC Scottish Borders Council is pants. I don't know what that means. I'm gonna have to Google that about what is pants. Like the phrase. I know what pants are, but the phrase, I'm gonna have to Google that because if it's fun, I'll probably say it all the time because it sounds awesome. Carol is here, and she says I like having fun. I appreciate you saying that, Carol. Johnny Appleseed says, I will still judge you. I expected no less. Christina says, just found this channel recently. Excited to join in on a live stream. That's great. And I'm realizing I have no idea where my sound window is. So I might need that. Where's sound levels? There they are. Suzu's pedals. There they are. Okay. We're gonna move on. Wendy says, I feel very guilty. Sorry, I'm just kidding. You don't have to feel guilty. I just thought it'd be fun. But Patrick says, we all know the hipster glasses just reveal the truth about you, Dean. Anytime I wear anything that's like a brand or like anything slightly cool, it's just like people are like sitting there, they're just like, so you think you're better than us, huh? Yeah, okay, you think you're better than me? Come on, man. Like, I have glasses. Sorry that I like kind of stylish glasses. I don't even know. Guys, I'll be real honest with you. These were $25. Okay. Let's see what else is going on. I hear you're part of Big Eva now. Shh. No, don't say it out loud. It's kind of my whole thing here is to not be Big Eva. I'm the most undercover Big Eva guy ever. It's like reverse psychology. Yeah, I'm not Big Eva, but I really am. And I am because I'm not Big Eva. It's a conundrum. Deep fried and a mystery. Johnny says they did what? Yeah, they did. They gathered around and they sang a song and people are like, do you not like worship? Do you not like worshiping God? It's like, okay, guys. One, that song is like super obscure. Apparently like Brian Sauvé wrote it. That's what somebody said. Don't go and look at the thread because there's a lot of things that people said. But I muted it after like 10 minutes. And then every once in a while, I'll go in and just kind of see what's going on. But it got out of hand. Aaron says, I nominate Heidi. And she's usually on a laptop instead of a phone. Hey, Heidi, if you want to be a moderator, job's all yours. And we need some more too. So Aaron, if you want, I'm just saying, some people who are regulars. Let's see. Ren says Joel Webbin and Company. Yeah, that's who was doing it. Heidi says, Dean, I will moderate, but I have never done it before, and I tend to err on the side of grace. I will send you a Twitter DM and let you know the info. If anyone wants to be a moderator who's a regular here, hit me up on Instagram or on Twitter, and we will talk about it, and I'll let you know. It's not that intimidating. It's basically just like if someone's being a complete jerk in the chat and not living up to the standards that we try to keep here on the show, they get booted. But I have a feeling it's going to happen more regularly. I'm on the radar. Let's see. Carol says, I was 30 years old when you were born. I'm old enough to be your mom. Well, okay. That's cool. I mean, you got a lot of wisdom then. All right. Let's talk about the SBC. Are you ready for this, guys? Hit the like button if you're ready for this. This is another trick to just get likes. I know it. It's part of my evil plan. All right. So what has been going on? Because for the last few years, obviously with the Southern Baptist Convention, they've been talking about abuse. Like maybe you heard about the Judge Pressler stuff recently, but there's been all kinds of leaders within the Southern Baptist Convention who have been found to either have done something or to have covered up doing things. So, like famously now, there was the Guidepost Solutions report that came out last year and indicated people like Johnny Hunt. And we talked a lot about that at the time. But then it became a conversation of, okay, we know that stuff has happened within the Southern Baptist Convention. We know that the executive committee, that they had a list, or at least somebody within the executive committee had a list going of people who were known as abusers, and they just didn't tell people. They didn't inform churches. They just kept a list going for themselves. And so it's it's a pretty big deal, right? Like, so it's been abuse going on, and then people covering it up, and then the Guidepost Solutions report came out, and it's just like, okay, now what? All right, and we know that stuff has been going on, but what is actually being done about it? And so a task force was formed originally to get that report done, and then they tried to continue it. Now, the idea was that this would be a temporary solution of this task force to be able to get some of these changes rolling and be able to take a look at the SBC and say, how can they protect people? And how can they come out with solutions for the future? And nothing has happened. I don't like saying that. I know some people who are involved in everything, and I know them to be good people. But like they didn't really do anything, and that was one of the big problems when at the floor of the SBC you could see that there were some people who were trying to shut down the task force. There were some people who were trying to basically find a way to just get this done with and get on to their mission, right? Like there's been a lot of talk about that, and you're going to hear a lot of talk about that as the annual meeting comes up in the summer here. Now, if you're sitting here and you're just kind of wondering, like, why does this matter? Like, I don't care about the SBC. It's not a big name that I've, listened to before, like Mark Driscoll, John MacArthur. I think that this story is actually way more important than Mark Driscoll and John MacArthur, because we're talking about the biggest denomination in the world. And if you don't want to say that the SBC is a denomination, you're crazy. At this point, it just is. It acts like a denomination. It rules itself like a denomination. They just don't want any accountability like a normal denomination would have within itself. And we'll be talking about that specifically with the tweet that was going around from William Wolf here in just a couple minutes. But that's all what's being talked about right now is abuse. Where is it going? And a couple weeks ago, there was a decision made coming from the task force, basically trying to wiggle out of the whole thing. And this is where things get like a little upsetting. All right, so let's take a look at the statement that was put out. So a little bit of reading for us today. I'll try my best to make this as readable as possible. I got so many things on the screen, and sometimes I have to go in here into settings and remove it so I can just read big things like this. All right, so this is what was said at this SBC Executive Committee meeting just a couple weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago now. We're excited to announce tonight that basically the task force, is launching a new independent nonprofit organization to help Southern Baptist churches and entities prevent and respond to sexual abuse. Now, that sounds great, right? Like, I just want us to think a little bit deeper than just like what's on the page here and think about the implications of getting something like this off the ground, okay? This decision was made in consultation with President Barber. It's Bart Barber, who's the president of the SBC right now. He's about to get, replaced here in just a couple months. We'll talk about all the nominees here in a minute. Your EC leadership, so that's the executive committee. This would be like the biggest like there's so many committees in this thing, but this is like the most influential group. These are the decision makers. These are the people that dictate where finances go. It's the head board, like it's everybody who's super important and actually making decisions that have ramifications on the whole denomination. That's them. And members of the Great Commission Council. Churches overwhelmingly want to get it right when it comes to sexual abuse, but they need help, and our convention promised help was on the way. The reality is this problem is too big for any group of volunteers, and that is the problem. All right. You had people who were handpicked to get this ball rolling. This is when Ed Litton was the president of the SBC, and this was something that came from the floor of the Southern Baptist annual meeting. And you had people who were handpicked, and it seems like, over the last couple months, people have been replaced, and it just seems like they're really tired, and they're saying this is too big for any group of volunteers. In other words, they essentially are saying that we want to dissolve this thing, and we want to start this new nonprofit organization that is outside the SBC. We'll talk about that here in a second. But is outside the SBC so that they can do all the heavy lifting and maybe even get paid. It's nonprofit, like they're not making money, but they want to pay these people and have an actual staff that's devoted to this stuff because it's too big for any group of volunteers. And there's a couple things about that. One is the fact that it's too big for any group of volunteers should scare everyone, right? Like, you're saying that this is such a huge problem within the SBC, and that includes both like the actual abuse that's happening, but also the opposition to any kind of reform, which we'll discuss here in detail in just a couple minutes. You're saying that all of this is too much for a group of volunteers. I think also as part of this, it's not here, I'm just reading between the lines, there's a lot of liability issues for the SBC Executive Committee. Which I think is probably why they're wanting it to be a third party, to put it outside of the SBC so the SBC can't be held responsible for this nonprofit and what they might uncover. And then, things like getting sued for defamation and all that kind of stuff. Johnny Hunt says none of this ever happened. And, like there's legal proceedings that are going to happen just about people uncovering the truth. And whether that truth is actual truth or not. And so I think that there's this part of this that is just kind of setting it outside the camp so that the camp can't be attacked, essentially, and actually attacked from within. But, whatever. So let me answer the question you're all asking. Why create a new organization outside of the SBC? After painstakingly evaluating and exhausting every option, there is broad agreement that the best way to accomplish all three objectives is through an independent organization. So this is the reasoning. An independent organization will have more credibility with survivors, more flexibility to help our churches with more success in accomplishing the mandate given to us by the messengers. That is just not true. No, it's not. It's not going to help because you can take the SBC name off of this thing, but understand that even though if it were to get started, which it won't, and we'll get to that, but if it were to get started, that, like, everyone knows this from the SBC, and everyone knows the legal proceedings that are happening right now against survivors. Like, guys, Hannah Kate is still being told that she has to be quiet online about what happened to her and the people that knew things about her and what she has shared online. Like, that is still happening right now. The amicus brief that they just, like, there was this huge ordeal about them trying to shut down a victim, and it's not even a part of their cases, nothing related to the SBC as far as like leadership. And I think like she was at an SBC church. I think that was part of it. But it's more to basically give some kind of legal standing to be able to shut down survivors, at least their voice online, and, have them basically be quiet. That stuff, that's not like, oh, this happened back in the day under different leadership. That is happening right now. Like, these are all things that are happening since the task force was made, since the Guidepost Solutions report came out. That's what's been going on. So, like, no one thinks that the SBC, at least survivors, people that I follow online. Again, I don't know personally. I'm not an expert on this topic. This is just, no one else is talking about this stuff. So I figure I will, and people have asked me to do it. So I'm just saying, like, I don't think that survivors are really going to be like, oh, this organization that was started by the SBC is more credible than the SBC. It's the SBC still. Like, it's all going to be SBC people who would be in charge of this thing. So I don't get that at all. This organization will be committed to giving Southern Baptist churches and entities the very best resources to prevent sexual abuse, stop predators from moving from church to church, care for survivors, and help us accomplish the goal of becoming an abuse-free family of churches. I think that there is some truth to that. Like, what they're trying to do with this thing is that's the goal. That's the goal, is to stop all this stuff from happening. But at the same time, it's not going to make it so where a 47,000 church denomination is going to be abuse free. Just statistics alone, that's just not going to be the case. But I believe that that's what they want to do with this thing. The formation of this new Abuse Response Commission represents the task force's relentless commitment to advancing the cause of abuse reform, no matter what. Given the current legal, and here's where I'm saying, look close. All right. Given the current legal and financial challenges facing the SBC and the executive committee, the formation of a new independent organization is the only viable path that allows progress toward abuse reform to continue unencumbered and without delay. In other words, it's costing too much money and there's too much liability for the executive committee. And so we want to pass this buck off to this other nonprofit organization. Now, I'm not saying that there's like all kinds of wicked motivations behind like people starting this thing. Again, I believe them when they say like, this is what we want to do. We want to stop all this stuff from happening. I believe that. But it's naive to think that's the only thing that they're thinking about when they're trying to do this. Now, here's the deal. It's not going to happen. Like, I would be shocked. Now, I could be wrong because I'm a person and I get things wrong, but I just don't think that this is going to be something that actually occurs. Like, here's the deal. Southern Baptists are all about their procedure. All right. These, like, have you ever been to a Baptist, business meeting, annual meeting? And like, not just like Southern Baptist, I'm saying like any Baptist. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that happens at a Baptist business meeting. Okay. I've seen stuff. I've had to take charge of meetings that moderators didn't know what to do and looked like a deer in the headlights because somebody used procedure to try to stop people from using the funds of the church to get a boiler. Like, that's the kind of stuff that happens, and it gets intense. All right. But the tool that a lot of abusers, manipulators use is procedure. That we're not going about this the right way. That we're not going to be able to get this done in a timely fashion, or the finances are going to cost us so much because we have to vote this way and that way and this way. And then finally we can have this estimate come in, and then we can get, and then Guidepost Solutions, they put out a post and now we got to get rid of them. Like that's what's been going on. So this whole thing right here, I just don't believe that it's going to happen. I think that there are going to be so many people that are going to be like, one, can a task force, basically a committee that isn't the executive committee, can they even have the power to do this? Like, they can ask the executive committee, but can the executive committee do this? Like, these are things that are going to be talked about over the next few months. And it's going to be said, like, no, these guys with all the money and all the power, They're just, doing whatever they want. And it's not coming from the room. It's not coming from the voters. It's not coming from the messengers. And if the messengers, which is what they call the people voting at the SBC annual meeting, if they're not going to be the ones who are putting this thing out, it should not happen. That's what I think is going to happen. But I'm in. Okay. All right. Cal made me go like, wait, is my sound being weird? Because I hear a weird echo, and I think it's just my headphones. So there's like a disconnect. But all right, you're just unable to watch it with the sound on. Okay. All right. Scared me for a sec. Tech stuff always scares me. I'm just like, oh no, have I been talking for 40 minutes and no one knows what I'm saying? All right. But that's what's going to happen. It's just going to get dragged out in this procedure fight. And honestly, I don't think that the task force is going to win that because I'm pretty confident that those people who are saying like, they have reasons why they're saying it, of why, they can't just create a nonprofit. They have different reasons for saying it, but I think they're actually right when it comes to procedure. Like, I don't think that they're allowed to do that. I don't know, like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something that I don't know about, but I'm pretty confident that that is not the scope that they were given from the messengers to be able to do that. And so I think that they're actually going to lose. And so there's a lot that's riding on this. And it's just an awful move from the task force, from the executive committee, from Bart Barber himself to say, let's go forward with this decision. And then one of the things that they also did, you could say, okay, well, maybe they will be able to get this done. There's enough people who support reform, and there are. Like the vast majority of people, like actual congregants, they want reform. They don't like abuse, all right? The vast majority, they don't want that stuff happening in their churches anymore, and they want to do everything within their power to stop it. But there are a lot of other people who think about the money involved with it, and they know if they're going to do right by survivors, that means that they're going to have to pay out and they're going to lose money. And so they're going to use this procedure. They're going to use whatever advantage they have. They're going to start talking about, we need to get back to the mission. We need to get back to winning souls. Like they're going to use all that kind of language because it's going to trick some people into thinking like, you know what? Yeah, we're supposed to be about, getting the gospel out. And so that means we got to send more missionaries, and we're not going to be able to send as many missionaries because we're paying the survivor who was abused, and we knew about it and we had a list about it and we didn't do anything about it, or a pastor covered up for this abuser like that. They're going to be thinking about that. Like they're going to be like, well, we got to send that missionary over to the Philippines. The people in the Philippines need the gospel and we need more missionaries there. I'm not saying we don't need more missionaries there. I'm just saying that there's actually, you got to take care of things at home sometimes. Like before you start venturing off and saying like, we need to get the mission out there, maybe start the mission in here. Like maybe there's some things that need to be cleaned up back home before you start going out and inviting people into your house. So I think that's a huge part of what's going to be going on here. Now, another part of this is how in the world are they going to finance this thing? Because they're saying, okay, well, we have the power to be able to start this thing. And you can say, okay, maybe they're able to get through. I don't think that they're going to even make it on that. But if they were able to do that, then you got to pay for those people. And what they're doing is they're asking SBC entities to volunteer funds. And those funds, so they're not going to the floor and saying we need money to start this thing from the messengers. They're going to SBC entities. So what that means is like seminaries and institutions like the ERLC, and they're saying, hey, can you pay for us? Like, could you donate money? Like, could you donate money every year out of your budget to be able to go into this new third party thing? And it's just not going to happen. Like, first off, a lot of these entities are actually implicated in a lot of this abuse. All right, Southern Seminary, like theologically, great school. Like some of the professors, fantastic. But there's been abuse that's happened at Southern Seminary. You really think that Southern Seminary is going to be like, yeah, we'll give you money every year from our budget in order to find out more about the abuse that happened here? That's just not going to happen. you're naive if you think that's going to happen. Like you think about all these different seminaries, and then they got to think about the people that support those seminaries, and some of the money that supports those seminaries isn't just what people give from the church. Like it's not just like tithes and offerings that these entities are able to do that. If that were the case, Al Mohler's study would look a lot different. Okay, go Google that one. All right, look at all the gold and like paintings, and it looks like a frickin' throne room. It looks like like that Donald Trump like golden toilet thing, like where he like his apartment where he's just got gold everywhere and has a golden toilet. That's basically Al Mohler's study. Okay, it's cool, but that's a lot of money, and you don't get that just from getting grandma's tithe money. All right, that is people with money, old money, who have old ideas and have maybe not been so trained on like what to think properly about abuse and reform of abuse. They're the ones who are given that kind of money. And like that, you're saying that money is going to go to there? Not if that person finds out, even if the entity wanted to do it. Like if that person finds out, like that old person who gave all that money so you could have like the really expensive paintings hanging in your study, like that, no, they're going to take their money and they're going to put it into a different organization. They're going to go to Mid-America Seminary, which is trying to be an SBC entity lately, and they're going to give their money there. Like this is what happens. This is why it's such a big problem, and I understand why the task force would want to do something else, want to get like someone else to be able to do that, because they realize that they're not able to do that. And what that means to me mostly is that reform is dead within the SBC. Now, I do think that there are things that people can do to revive it, but the way things have happened, the way people are like, they're just not caring anymore, which is terrible to say. Like, at least like I'm talking about the people who are talking about it, in videos and podcasts, and, they're talking about the SBC. You don't hear a lot about the abuse that's like in trying to reform things anymore. It's just not popular. They've moved on to other topics. And so people have lost their attention. So it's just all across the board. There are so many indicators to me that the SBC reform is dead. And if that is true, I think it's about time that, some churches need to be a little bit wiser maybe about how they fellowship within the SBC. I know if it were me, and it's not me. So like Caleb said, an outsider's perspective. So I know it's easy to say from the outside without having the lines of communication and the financial stuff. And also, that cooperative program is a big deal of being able to send missionaries and be able to have that be a part of your DNA as a local church, is that you are involved in this really awesome thing of sending missionaries out. I get all that. But for me, I'm looking at it and going like, if they're not going to deal with abuse properly, and if they can't, like what kind of morality does the SBC have? And do you want to be attached to that? Like, do you want to be held responsible for that? Like, I'm not just saying like in the court of like law and actually like getting sued and stuff like that. I'm talking about in like with God. Like, do you want to be held accountable for that? And like you were willing to participate in this thing, even though there was all this like really just awful political moves trying to force reform out of the way so things can just be status quo. That to me would be a very huge topic that I would have to wrestle with. And I think that if you're in the SBC, it's about time you start thinking about that, because I just don't see how reform is going to happen again unless somebody comes in and wakes everyone up again and comes in and says, hey, I am all about this. And this needs to happen. We don't need a nonprofit. We need to deal with it in-house. We need to deal with our own stuff. And maybe that's one of these guys over here. So let's take a look just quickly at the four-way race for the SBC presidency this year. And I think it just became 5. there are people coming out of the woodwork, guys, to become president of the SBC this year. And it's interesting. It's interesting, some of these names. Now, some of them you might not know, like Jared Moore. Like this to me, guys, the only reason why he is getting nominated is because of his Twitter. Like he is one of the patriarchy boys. All right. He runs with that group. Dusty Devers, who is the Christian prince, that was voted into state Senate in Oklahoma by 3,000 people. And now he's the Christian prince, apparently. He's the one who is nominating him. So let's just take a look at one of the things that he says. Devers told BP Baptist Press, he believes our prophetic voice has been stifled in recent years because of infighting, self-dealing, and worldly compromise. I wonder what he could be talking about. God's kingdom will go on with or without the SBC, but we know the devil would love nothing more than to destroy our long and faithful cooperative mission. So he is one of those guys that would be from the Conservative Baptist Network. That would be like that kind of a mindset, but even probably more extreme. This is the guy who called Preston Sprinkle a heretic on Twitter. That's kind of how he got his, fame, I guess, if you want to call it that. But he is one of the candidates. Then you have David Allen. You might recognize that name. He was a professor down at Southwestern for a long time, and then was fired. And that's one of the big deals with him. So let's read here. Although Greenway gave no public that was the president at the time, man, some weird stuff happened at Southwestern. I'm just saying, there was a president there for like a minute, and then he was gone. And with all like the Paige Patterson stuff, there's some stories there. Okay, they got some skeletons in that closet, and it is a deep, huge walk-in closet there. But although Greenway gave no public reason for Allen's dismissal, the preaching professor about the same time appeared at a preaching conference with Paige Patterson, who famously covered up for abusers and tried to pass people along through ministry because they're still good for ministry. The former seminary president, who was fired by trustees for mishandling sexual abuse cases and for enriching himself at the seminary's expense, which is something that nobody ever talks about. There are stained glass pictures of Paige Patterson at Southwestern. I want you to think about how ridiculous that is. Like that you would take the president, the current president at the time, the current president of your seminary, and make a stained glass window of him. That tells you about everything you need to know. But I would say he was probably not the more extreme, but still very conservative. So like if you're like, wait, he's not extreme, he was with Paige Patterson. That's what I'm saying. Like it's very conservative. It's the fight of the conservatives. Then there's Clint Presley, who is known mostly for his muscles. The guy is huge. Okay, he's jacked as all get out. Clint Presley loves the Southern Baptist Convention and the mission that holds us together, said his nominator, North Carolina pastor Chris Justice. I know him to be a man of conviction who's joyfully orthodox, devoted to the Great Commission, and committed to our cooperation as Southern Baptists. Earlier, it talks about how he's probably just like the institution candidate. He served in a lot of different places and, seems like, a decent pastor. I don't know a whole lot about him other than he's jacked as all get out. So maybe he would be good. I don't know where he stands. And this is the thing. These people need to be asked specific questions about sexual abuse reform within the SBC. That needs to happen. Now, the person who would be most knowledgeable about the efforts would be Mike Keybone. I might be saying that name wrong. But he served as the vice chairman of the SBC's Abuse Reform Implementation Task Force, so he was there. Keybone also rose to defend the SBC's Sexual Abuse Task Force for hiring Guidepost Solutions, even as ultra-conservatives condemned the secular company for a single tweet in support of its LGBTQ employees. So when everyone was like going at the task force for I can't believe you're using guideposts, and so that writes off everything that you found, I guess, because they put up a tweet affirming, this kind of sexual ethic, and so that means that all the truth that they uncovered is, I guess, void because of that. That's what they think, at least. Keybone rose up and he said, no, we're going to keep doing that. Now, I will say some of the things that I've seen online, some of the interactions, he does not give me all that much confidence that something will actually get done. He seems to kind of bend a little bit with people, and it's not like, I get it. There's a lot of, I don't want to just talk smack about people. There's a lot of opposition, and it can be very hard to know like which spiritual leader you're supposed to listen to. And within these circles, there's a lot of, oh, that guy's so faithful, and oh, that guy, he's been, in charge of this, institution for years and years and years. And so when he says something, it should weigh more heavily on you. Like, there's so much of that kind of stuff within these circles that it could be very manipulative, and some people can be manipulated by that. And I just think that all these candidates need to be careful about that, and that people need to ask these candidates the hard questions about reform, not the easy stuff, and like, oh, what are you going to do to unite people? No, what are you going to do to deal with these things? If any reform is going to happen, it's going to be because of one of these candidates or a candidate in the future who is going to say, like, hey, like, we actually have to do something, and it's going to be hard, and we're going to lose a lot of money, and we might not be able to send as many missionaries as we want, but we got to do this right. We have to make things right with survivors. We have to make sure that abuse doesn't continue to happen where people within the SBC, pastors, leadership, entity heads, okay, this is where we're at. There was stuff that Al Mohler was told about things that were going on. All right, so this is where we're at. They need to stop covering up, stop letting people off the hook, stop not calling the police. Like, that's a big one, apparently. It's like, these are the things that need to happen. And then, yes, once you do that, send out the missionaries. Raise up more funds. They always want to boast about this Lottie Moon, this Lottie Moon fundraising thing they do. Well, if you deal with reform the right way, and you make things right, and you're going to lose money because of it, there's always the Lottie Moon thing. Like, you have money right there. Is it enough? I think that God would be okay if we didn't send out that one missionary this year and made him wait a year in order to make things right within the SBC when it comes to this issue. But these guys act like that's just not possible, that you got to keep going. And then it's about control. And if they get control over what is abuse, then all of a sudden, they're in charge, and it becomes like this fear tactic of us versus them. And it just keeps on going on. So I just wanted to give an update on the SBC, where things have been going. I see that, Patrick. I see that. I vote we elect Joe Thorne instead. I will guarantee you won't be able to find him if that happens. He ain't doing that. Are you serious? He'll take pictures outside with people, and then he will bail. He'll be at the cigar shop as fast as possible before any vote, and then be like, I don't know anything about this, whatever. And he'll just go right back to his church. But he'd be great. He'd be great. He knows his stuff. All right. Let's go over to Fundyville. I think we're going to do that today. We're going to skip the penalty box today, but we're going to go and have some fun with Fundy. Now, there is a chance, a small chance, that you have seen this. So I'm just saying.
A good woman, like a good church, she's concerned with the details. Everything matters. Everything we do matters. The way we hold the songbook, the way we stand, the way we dress. Amen. Our attitudes, our outlook, our countenance, everything that we do matters, friend. Detail, it matters. Who you're liking on Facebook matters. Because you've really broken my heart. How come only the liberals can be hurt, but I don't get to be hurt? Can I be hurt that you're liking my enemies? That you're embracing his enemies?
Oh, snap.
That don't just hurt me, that ticks me off.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Amen. I don't understand that. Detail's important, friend. Look at it. I'm almost through in about an hour and a half. She stretches forth her hand to the poor. She's generous. I just don't understand why we're going to send all that money overseas. Because that's what we do. That's how we get. Given it shall be given unto you. She's not afraid of the snow for her household. You know why? Because her household are clothed.
Oh, snap.
Y'all knew I was going to get to it.
The twist.
If you have any spiritual deduction, you knew I'm coming to that part. Mm-hmm. A good church will put some clothes on you. Let a woman adorn herself in modest apparel. Amen. Not bullfighting breeches. Somebody say amen. Amen, friend. Hey, a good church put some clothes on you. My mama always, it bothered me. She'd, now, if it was cold, they don't even get that cold in Georgia where I was born. But if it was like frost, if the frost hit, she'd say, put your toboggan on.
Toboggan. All right. Well, that was interesting. If some of you guys don't know who that is, that's brother Tony Hudson, who will always be famous for me for "It Ought to Be an Honor," which I will show at some point. I think that's actually like a video clip. I've only heard the audio, but I'm assuming there's a video clip of that out there. But this guy, first, he's at Jack Treber's church, who is a King James only guy, who was being talked about like so positively for standing up to the government with John MacArthur. He was the other pastor. So it's just kind of funny, like, well, do they need to meet? Like, I don't know. But yeah, it's, a good church will put some clothes on you. So stop walking into church naked, guys. It's messing everybody up. We got to have a clothes drive. Oh, wait, you're not? Oh, it's because I didn't like what you were wearing. Maybe it's because that, like last week, whatever, counting the people as they're walking in with shorts. But yes, he does have to do that breathe thing. Like that thing. He's from Tennessee, guys. I think his church is in Middle Tennessee. So just, I don't think anyone else talks like that normally from Tennessee, except for preachers. But, everything they do matters, including that. How you hold the book. Well, that means that you can separate from people because it's that important on how they hold the book, or if they're holding a book or watching it off of a projector. That's a real conversation I've heard people have. That is not a joke. That is a real conversation. All right. That's about it, guys. That's where we're at. I got to get going. We got some stuff going on today, so a little bit shorter of a show. But next week, we're going to get right back to it. I might, try to get a stream in later on in the week. Might not take everything upstairs because that's too many cords. It's a lot of work getting all those things together. And just realizing that the camera is not in the right spot and my door is showing. I don't like that. Anyways, have a good rest of your afternoon. Hit the like button on your way out. Oh, it's unlocked. Oh, my goodness. I have to hit this thing and then hit that thing. 65 people, 32 likes, 1 dislike. Oh, I'm sorry, that one person. My bad. Not really. All right. I will see you in the future. where I am lukewarm no more.